before since I've been back with you guys to do my chapter readings. Let me go ahead and see. That one's a little bit better there. So what I want to do today is read chapters 9 and 10 of my book series, Song of the Dragon from the Chronicles of Elyndor. And there are 4 completed books in this series. I just recently got book 4 published over on Amazon, and all of the information is there in the description below. Let me do this just so you guys can see. So here is book 1 that I am currently going to be reading from, the Songs of the First Dawn. And then here is book 2, The Song Remains. And then here is book 3. Oh, I'm sorry. Book 2. I was jumping ahead of myself. Book 2 is The Song Unbroken. Book 3 is The Song Remains. And then here is the brand new book. This is just my proof copy. The Song of the Remnant. Now, the 4th book actually is the longest so far in the series, almost 800 pages in that one. So yeah, I'm just writing and writing, just trying to plug away at this. I've already started into book 5, which will be called the Song. What did I call it? The Song of Reckoning is what book 5 is going to be called. But here is book 1, and that's what I am currently reading with you guys right now, because this at least gives you guys a feel of what this whole series is going to be about. And of course, here is the map that is in book 1. And then, of course, let me scroll down here. Here's a better image of book 2, The Song Unbroken. And of course, here is the world map. So you can still see quite a bit of Elyndor, but you're starting to see what the Shadowlands look like. And then here is the cover for book 3, The Song Remains. And this is the world map for book 3. Of course, you still see Elyndor, but now there's quite a bit more going on in what I have termed the Shadowlands. And then the most recent book is The Song of the Remnant. This book is a darker book. I will admit to you guys, this is darker, but it had to be, because I cover very, very specific things in this book. But nonetheless, we're converging to some very important things in the saga. And then here is the world map that you will find in book 4. Now, what I have been doing ever since I released book 1 is once a month, I make, for like 1 to 2 days, I make the ebook absolutely free for anyone who wants to download it. I will not be able to do that until April 1st, because I'm allowed only so many days per a 3-month period. And so I've been just like spacing them out. And so next week, I will be back, and I will have that promotion going on, and you will be able to download books 1 through 4 absolutely free for the ebook version. And of course, the print version, it's always in there. People sometimes like to, have, a hard copy. I've kept all of my books relatively inexpensive, $29.99. it only gives me a few dollars worth of profit. But mainly, the way that I have been doing this is just giving the ebooks free once a month, and then it's promoted on Amazon, and other people have taken advantage of that. So I do appreciate those of you who have taken advantage of this, who's maybe seen my video here on YouTube, or maybe you've seen my posts on Facebook. So thank you for those of you that have taken advantage of this, because this is my way of giving to the body of Christ. So let me go back here, and I will show you the opening image for chapter 9 of book 1, the songs of the first dawn. So let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. And before every chapter, I always have a KJV verse. And so for chapter 9, the verse is from Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Chapter 9, beneath borrowed light. Shadows often borrow the shape of truth, wearing gentleness only long enough to be welcomed. From the songs of the first dawn. The morning air over Mountain Vale was crisp, touched by the soft glow of dawn as Daniel descended one of the upper cliff paths with Quinn at his side. Mist curled low across the stone, shifting in pale ribbons as sunlight began to pour between the spires. The valley still breathed the last echoes of the covenant light, its memory shimmering faintly along the ridges. Quinn was quiet, as he often was, his bronze gold scales catching the early light in muted warmth. He walked with disciplined stillness, each step measured, every movement attentive. Daniel valued that. Quinn was steady, reliable, and saw things others missed. But today, something gnawed at the edges of Daniel's thoughts, a faint unease he could not place. So when Quinn slowed, Daniel noticed. Someone is approaching, Quinn murmured. Daniel followed his gaze, and everything inside him tightened. A black dragon emerged from the shadowed turn of the path, tall and imposing, his scales smooth as obsidian, reflecting the dawn in sharp mirror-like glints. His wings were neatly folded, posture lowered in a respectful bow as he stepped into the warm morning light. Daniel's breath hitched, not from surprise, but recognition. He had seen this dragon before, at Mountain Vale, at the gathering of light, when Yeshurael appeared to the dragons and spoke the covenant. He had stood on the far side of the crowd that day, silent, too still for a creature hearing divine words for the first time. Daniel remembered scanning the assembled wings and pausing when his eyes caught the midnight gleam of this very figure. A strange, low instinct had stirred in Daniel's chest then, unease, a caution he could not name. And now here the stranger was, standing before him, bowing as though he had known Daniel all his life. Daniel masked his reaction, though Quinn's tail flicked revealed he had sensed Daniel's tension. The black dragon lifted his head. My king, he said softly, I come seeking refuge, and a home I once feared was lost to me. Daniel stepped forward, posture steady, but gaze sharp. I saw you at the gathering, he said quietly, when Yeshurael spoke. The stranger's golden eyes did not flinch. Yes, he murmured. I stood among you, though hidden. I did not wish to disrupt a moment meant for glory, not for one such as me. Quinn moved closer, protective instinct rising. Who are you? He demanded. The black dragon bowed again, slower this time, sorrow threading his voice. My name is Raymond, He lifted his gaze, golden eyes dimming with a grief that seemed older than he could possibly be. Of Asherai blood. The wind itself seemed to pause. Quinn inhaled sharply. Cameron's wings tensed. Daniel's heart jolted against his ribs. The name Asherai had not been spoken aloud in centuries. It belonged to the carved sigils in the oldest caverns, marks so worn by time that only the elders could still read them. A lineage believed vanished before memory itself grew thin. Quinn's voice was rough. That line vanished before the first banishing. None remain. Raymond bowed his head. So the stories say, he murmured. But I live, and through me the memory of my people does not fall to dust. Daniel felt a tremor move through him, not fear exactly, but a gravity he was not prepared for. Prove it, Cameron said, stepping forward, his deep blue scales rippling with tension. I can, Raymond replied softly, but not here. The truth I carry was entrusted only to kings and elders, signs only the most ancient among you will recognize. Daniel's breath tightened. Only the stone readers, the eldest dragons, knew how to interpret the ancient sigils, and he had never been shown those caverns. Raymond stepped back, posture humbled. I did not come to claim position or honor, only to stand where my ancestors once stood, and to ask if a place remains for me here. Quinn glanced at Daniel, waiting, wary. Daniel steadied his voice. We walk now, but I will need to speak with the elders. Raymond bowed deeply, reverently, as I expected, my king. He stepped aside, respectfully withdrawing, as Daniel turned toward the upper path. Cameron watched Raymond until he disappeared into the bends of the ridge. Daniel did not look back. The climb to the elder's chamber was steep and silent. The higher Daniel ascended, the colder the wind became, tugging at memories he did not yet possess. Ancient runes marked the narrow stairway, patterns of the first age, carved by Yeshariel long before Mountain Vale became a sanctuary. At the summit, a carved granite archway came into view, lit only by faint shimmering fire crystals. 3 elder dragons waited within the chamber, scaled in muted tones of silver, stone gray, and sunset gold. They lifted their heads as Daniel entered. Elder Saradon, oldest among them, spoke first. You come early in your reign, young king. What truth presses upon you? Daniel bowed deeply. A name was spoken to me today, one I did not expect ever to hear. Saradon's eyes sharpened. What name? Daniel exhaled. Asherai. All 3 elders went silent. Mirath's claws scraped stone. Kalor's wings half flared. Saradon's breath left him in a trembling hiss. That name, Saradon whispered, has been sealed from the tongues of dragonkind for 1,000 seasons. Then it is real, Daniel pressed. The lineage exists. Mirath nodded slowly. Yes. They were guardians sent by Yeshariel to watch over the humans as they were cast out. Noble, faithful, and burdened with the grief that shaped their doom. Kalor's voice rumbled like shifting rock. The last known Asherai vanished before the first banishing ended. No hatchlings, no heirs. Their bloodline is marked extinct. Saradon's eyes narrowed. Who spoke the name to you? A dragon newly arrived from the Shadowlands, Daniel said. He claims to be born of that line. The elders exchanged a grim look. Mirath spoke first. Then take heed. If he speaks truth, the realms have changed. Her voice softened with dread. If he lies, he has stolen a name no dragon should ever know. Kalor dipped his head. You must tread carefully, Daniel. The Asherai carried both honor and a curse. Daniel's muscles tightened. What curse? The elders did not answer, not immediately. Finally, Saradon bowed his ancient head. That knowledge will be given when the time demands it, and not a breath sooner. For now, know only this: if an Asherai walks among us, the shadows of the past have stirred. Daniel swallowed hard. I understand. Seek truth, Mirath whispered, but do not let hope blind you, nor fear drive you. Daniel followed once more and stepped back into the cold mountain air. The wind cut sharp along his wings, carrying the echoes of the elders' warning. He needed counsel, he needed clarity, he needed wisdom unclouded by power, history, or politics. He needed Sharia. And so, with the ancient name Asherai burning behind his ribs, King Daniel descended the long path toward the one dragon whose insight he trusted beyond all others. And then here is the ending image for chapter 9. Get a drink here, and then I will start with chapter 10. And then here is the opening image. That is Daniel and Sharia. Okay. 1 Samuel 16:7. For the Lord seeth not as a man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Chapter 10, the weight of old names. A king's strength is not in solitary choice, but in the counsel of the one who sees the truth beneath his wings. From the Songs of the First Dawn. The path leading towards Shariah's lair felt quieter than usual. Too quiet. Daniel's steps slowed as he approached the familiar rise of smooth stone where her garden overlooked the valley. The morning light had softened into a warm glow, brushing gently across the silver leaves she tended with such patient care. Shariah stood near the edge, wings partly unfurled, letting the breeze comb through the delicate membranes. She looked peaceful, serene in a way Daniel had never been able to imitate, even on his best days. But when she turned at the sound of his footsteps, Daniel saw the faint shadow behind her eyes, the one that had been there the first time he visited her and left him uneasy. He exhaled softly. He needed to address that first. Sharia, he greeted quietly. Daniel. Her voice was warm, but there was something measured in it. Not cold, just cautious, as though she was still unsure where to place him after the awkward morning with Wintella. He stepped closer and dipped his head. Thank you for seeing me. She smiled, a soft curve of her mouth. You never need my permission to approach. Daniel hesitated, then decided honesty was better than comfort. I owe you an apology, he said. Sharia blinked. An apology? Yes, he drew a slow breath. The last time I came to see you, I could tell something was off. You were guarded, uncomfortable, and I left without understanding why. She looked away, wings folding slightly. I wasn't trying to be unkind. I know, he said gently, but I didn't ask what you were feeling, and I should have. A long breath escaped her, almost a sigh. When you came to see me that first time, she admitted quietly, I had just heard Wintella say she had hoped to walk at your side someday. I assumed you had chosen her. It wasn't fair of me, but it unsettled me in a way I didn't expect. Daniel's chest tightened, not with frustration, but with understanding. Sharia, he murmured, if there was ever a moment you wondered where my attention lies, it isn't with Wintella. Her gaze lifted slowly, silver eyes searching his. He took one step closer, careful, respectful. I came that day to speak with you, not her. The wind stirred between them, cool and quiet. Sharaya's expression softened, truly softened, like a weight she'd carried silently was finally lifting. I see, she whispered. Daniel offered a faint smile. I should have said it plainer sooner. Her tail brushed the ground gently, the tension easing from her posture. Thank you for saying it now. A comfortable silence settled, warm, unforced. Then her eyes sharpened with concern. You sought me out again today. Something's happened. Daniel nodded, the shift from tenderness to urgency almost palatable. Yes, something has happened, and I need your insight. She stepped closer without hesitation. Tell me. He steadied his breath. A dragon arrived this morning, Daniel said quietly. Black scaled from the far edge of the Shadowlands. He calls himself Raymond. Sharaya's brow lowered. What does he want? That's what I'm trying to understand. Daniel hesitated, searching her expression. Sharaya, do you remember seeing him at the gathering of light when Yesharael appeared? She blinked, thinking, but Daniel continued, voice low, waited. He offered a lineage today, one I didn't believe could still exist. He drew a slow breath. He claimed to be of Asherai blood. Sharaya froze. The breeze stilled. Even the silver leaves beneath her wings stopped trembling. Daniel nodded grimly. I know. Sharaya's voice dropped to a whisper. That name hasn't been spoken since before the first banishing. And yet he spoke it, Daniel said, and I had to go to the stone readers themselves to confirm it. Her eyes widened, shock rippling across her usually calm expression. You went alone? I had to. He looked down briefly. They confirmed the lineage was real. They also said an Asherai carries both honor and a curse, but they refused to tell me what the curse is. Not yet. Sharaya went still, not from fear, but from something deeper. Recognition, memory, and a quiet, dawning concern. She didn't speak right away. Instead, she turned toward the path that wound around her garden and nodded gently. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady. Daniel, you were right to come to me. He felt something ease in his chest. Walk with me, Daniel. They moved side by side, their steps slow, wings brushing the faint warmth of the mid-morning breeze. The valley stretched below them, peaceful and bright, so at odds with the weight they carried. Only when they had reached a broad ledge of stone, half covered in silver moss, did Sharaya finally speak. Raymond, she murmured, testing the name as if hearing it clarified something. I didn't know him, but her eyes narrowed slightly, thoughtful. I did see a black-scaled dragon at the gathering of light. Daniel stopped, breath tightening. You did? Sharaya nodded. He stood far to the edge, too far. Most dragons stepped closer when the mountain began to glow, but he didn't move, not even when Yesharael appeared. Daniel's pulse quickened. You felt that too. Her tail curled faintly in the dust. Yes, I remember feeling, she paused, searching for the right word, as though he was listening differently than the rest of us. Not in awe, not in fear, but calculating. Daniel exhaled sharply. Quinn sensed something off as well. Sharaya continued, her voice quieter now. And dragons who have been starved of light their whole lives react strongly when they finally stand in its presence. Some weep, some tremble, some collapse under the weight of it. Her gaze lifted to Daniel's, but he stood like stone. A chill passed down Daniel's spine. Sharaya's wings lowered, her expression tightening with certainty. So, yes, she said softly, I remember seeing him and I remember not liking the way he watched us. Sharea's words lingered between them, quiet but heavy. Daniel lowered his gaze to the valley below. There's more you should know. Sharia turned fully toward him, attentive. This morning, Daniel said slowly, before Raymond approached me, he had already spoken with Wintella. Sharia's brow lifted. Wintella? How? A storm pushed a tree down across the entrance of her lair last night, Daniel explained. A large one. She couldn't move it alone. Sharia nodded. She would never ask for help, not unless she had no choice. And she didn't ask, Daniel said. He appeared before she could, moved it as if he'd been waiting for the chance. Sharia exhaled through her nose, a soft, thoughtful sound. And how did she take it? She was flustered. Daniel paused, searching for the right words. She told me he helped her before she even spoke. She thought it was kind, thoughtful, rare. Sharia's expression tightened with subtle concern. Wintella is sincere, she murmured, and lonely in ways she doesn't admit. A dragon who shows her attention with gentleness would make an impression on her, especially now, after everything in Mountain Vale. Daniel nodded. I didn't want to embarrass her, he said quietly, or make her feel foolish, but I also didn't want to give her the wrong idea. Sharia watched him closely. And what did you tell her? That I appreciated her company, Daniel said honestly, but I wasn't seeking anything more. I tried to make it gentle. A faint smile touched Sharia's lips, soft, understanding, relieved. She would have heard that clearly, Sharia said, even if it stung a bit. Daniel nodded. Raymond saw all of it. Sharia's wings angled slightly in thought. He watched you with her? He watched everything, Daniel said, feeling the old unease stir again. The way she approached, the way she spoke, the way I responded. He paid attention to every detail. Sharia's voice deepened, contemplative. A dragon seeking belonging watches for acceptance. A dragon seeking adventure watches for weakness. Advantage watches for weakness. Daniel met her eyes. That is exactly what I'm afraid of. Sharia slowly lowered her wings, the silver membranes catching the light. And Wintella, she asked, how does she feel now? She seemed embarrassed at first, Daniel said, but she understood. She left before things became uncomfortable. And Raymond's presence changed her mood? Daniel nodded. It did. It unsettled her too, though she didn't realize it. Sharia exhaled slowly. That matters, she murmured. Wintella feels emotions more strongly than she lets on. If Raymond became close to her, she would trust him wholeheartedly. Daniel's jaw tightened. I know. They stood together for a long moment, two dragons watching the valley below, the morning light warm against the stone, the truth of what they faced settling quietly around them. Sharia finally spoke again. Tell me everything the elder shared with you. Daniel's breath steadied as he recalled the long, echoing descent into the caverns of the stone readers. Even now, the memory clung to him like cool dust. They didn't speak at first, he said, not with words. Sharia's wings folded softly as she listened. When I entered the Sigil's chamber, Daniel continued, the stones on the walls began to glow. Not bright, just enough to shape the marks. The stone readers pressed their claws to the runes and let me see fragments of the old records. Sharia's gaze sharpened with interest. And what did they show you? Daniel exhaled. The Asherai were real. Their line was not a myth. Sharia nodded faintly, but her eyes did not leave his. And they were dragons born with unmatched clarity of thought, able to perceive danger or deceit before others could sense it. Sharia frowned. That sounds like a strength, not a curse. It was, Daniel said quietly. But the stone readers warned me that the Asherai did not remain as they were. Sharia stilled. Their gift twisted, Daniel went on. Clarity became obsession. Insight became paranoia. Their sight into truth made them fear lies in every corner. They saw betrayal where none existed. Sharia's breath caught softly as she pieced it together. They fell apart. Yes, Daniel nodded. Their line fractured. Many vanished into remote lands, some into the shadowlands themselves. And the elders said, he hesitated. Sharia stepped closer. Daniel, what did they say? That when an Asherai returns from exile, Daniel swallowed, he may carry truth that can save a realm or deception sharp enough to destroy one. Sharia closed her eyes briefly, letting the words settle. When she opened them again, her voice was measured, steady. That means Raymond's story may not be entirely false. No, Daniel said softly. Parts of it might be real. That's what frightens me the most. Sharia studied him, her expression thoughtful, then concerned. You are not afraid of him, she said. You're afraid of choosing wrong. Daniel let out a slow breath he didn't realize he had been holding. Yes. Sharia stepped closer still, her tail brushing his in reassurance. Daniel, she murmured, your strength isn't in knowing every truth instantly. It's in seeking it. Her gaze softened, and in not facing it alone. He felt the gentleness of her words settle something inside him. Sharia continued, voice quiet but firm. You did the right thing going to the elders, and you're doing the right thing coming to me. She tilted her head slightly. What else did they reveal? Daniel reached back into the memory of those vast stone caverns. They told me the Asherai line had a marker, he said. A physical one. Sharia's eyes narrowed. A scale pattern? Yes, Daniel answered. A ringed pattern at the base of the throat, small but impossible to forge. Sharia exhaled. And Raymond has it? Daniel nodded slowly. He does. Sharia looked down at the valley, wings lowering in unease. Then he's telling the truth about who he is, she murmured. At least in part. Daniel watched her closely. What do you think I should do? Sharia lifted her gaze to him again, steady, wise, unwavering. We test him, she said, carefully, patiently, and never alone. Daniel nodded, feeling her counsel settle deeply. And one more thing, Sharia added softly. He tilted his head. Trust the unease you felt, she said. It speaks for a reason. Sharia grew quiet, too quiet. Daniel noticed it immediately. Her gaze had shifted from the valley to the stone beneath their feet, as if searching old memories carved there long before either of them hatched. Sharia, Daniel said softly, there's something else. I can see it. She hesitated, and for a moment Daniel wondered if she would speak at all. Then slowly she did. The stone readers told me stories when I was young, she said quietly. Stories they only entrusted to a few. I was one of the dragons chosen to receive them because, she exhaled, because the elders' time was nearing its end, and they needed the next three to bear the remembrance when they passed. Daniel's eyes widened slightly. Why didn't you say something sooner? Because the stories were myths, she said, or so I thought. Fragments, warnings, nothing with enough certainty to burden anyone with. Her wings lowered, brushing the stone. Until you said the name Asherai. Daniel stepped closer. What did they tell you? Sharia looked up, silver eyes reflecting the faint shimmer of the valley's distant streams. They said the Asherai possessed an instinct unlike any other dragon, she whispered. A sense of where a heart bends towards truth or towards shadow. Daniel's chest tightened. Sharia continued, voice low. But that gift came with a cost. The Asherai could sense deceit, but they could also weave it. She paused. Craft a story so close to truth that even the wisest dragons could be misled. Daniel went still. They told me, Sharia added softly, that the greatest danger an Asherai ever possessed was not their power. Her eyes lifted to meet his. It was their ability to use truth as a weapon. Daniel exhaled slowly, deeply. That was exactly what Raymond had done that morning, exactly what had unsettled him. Sharia stepped closer, her voice gentle but unwavering. You weren't wrong to feel uneasy, Daniel. That instinct is not doubt, it is discernment. She touched her wing slightly against his. The Asherai were not always evil, but they were always capable. Daniel let her words sink deep, anchoring him. What else did they tell you? He said quietly. One final thing, she answered, a warning. He waited. Shreya's voice dropped to a whisper. They said an Asherai who returns from exile does not come empty-handed. He comes with a purpose, one he has carried a long time. She looked at Daniel steadily, and that purpose is never small. The wind shifted across the ledge, cool and clear. Daniel stood silently, the weight of her words settling over him. The elder's revelations, the unease in his chest, the truth hidden in Raymond's eyes. Sharia watched him carefully. You are not meant to face this alone, she said, not as a king, not as a dragon. Daniel met her gaze, a quiet resolve forming behind his eyes. No, he murmured, I won't. Together we will speak to the elder, Sharia said softly. When I was young, I thought their warnings were only stories, myths meant to guide hatchlings. I never imagined the truths they guarded would one day rise before us. Her wings lowered, the light catching on their silver edges. But now, a quiet breath left her. Now I see why they chose me. Their time is ending and mine begins. It is time I step into the purpose they named for me. Time that I learn what it means to be a future elder and bearer of the sigils. Daniel inhaled deeply, letting her words anchor him. He didn't know the whole truth yet, but he no longer carried the burden alone. Whatever Raymond was, whatever purpose had driven him from the Shadowlands into their realm, it had begun long before this morning. And Daniel knew now he and Sharia would uncover that truth together. Okay, and then there is the ending image for chapter 10. Okay, that took me a little bit longer to read through those two chapters. Some chapters are longer and shorter than others. It just depends on what all is going on in that chapter. So, all right, so that's the first 10 chapters. Here on my channel, I have a playlist. If you are curious and you haven't, maybe you came into this one, just by accident or something, find the playlist and go back and start with the very first one. And then that way you get caught up with chapter 10. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end it there, and then hopefully next week I will be back and I will have that promotion going on so that you guys can go download the ebook of all 4 books for absolutely free. All right, you guys take care. God bless, and we will just see you next week.